time?
It is time.
Okay, let's call the Committee of Finance to order for Tuesday, May 7th. Let the record show all committee members are present except Alderman George. Let's see, approval of the minutes from Tuesday, April 1st. I'll make a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unfinished business. PL 02-19 from Alderman Crawford to amend the City of Olean ordinance, Code of Ordinance for Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 3, Audit and Compliance Committee Reporting Policy.
Okay, so I'm going to ask I'm going to make a motion to postpone this until June 18th.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. New referrals for consideration. We have none. Approval of committee reports. There are none. I'll make a motion to
Hey,
adjourn.
Linda, Fred's trying to get you.
That's
Permission
right.
to speak, is it?
We won't
okay,
adjourn
Phyllis?
just yet,
Do I
yes.
need your permission
Oh.
or Linda's?
I don't know what you're gonna say, so.
So you need the committee's chair.
We're approaching May 31st, and I think what we need to do is think about a resolution as to moving money out of contingency for the police cars. We need a resolution to.
Already talking about that, Fred, so.
Oh.
Don't put your hand
Never
up.
mind.
Get your hand up.
Okay, I didn't know that, Bill. I didn't see it on the board, that's why I thought you got forgotten.
We're all set. Any other questions?
Can I go home now?
I mean, while the topic's up, anything that needs to be retained from this year's budget?
And that will be on next week or the,
Yeah, it's got to be either the 14th or the 28th.
which one will it be?
Probably the 28th though.
What's that?
Whatever we need to retain out of this year's, what do you call that?
Is that the,
Income.
Encumber?
yeah,
Encumber anything out of contingency or?
that or moving it to,
Capital.
capital. Yeah. Like, the police cars, that would be moved to the, what's the item we have for that? Vehicle replacement.
Do you want to shoot for committee night the 21st, and then that can be presented by the 21st?
Yeah.
Would that work? And then the 28th, in regular meeting, and vote on it. Okay.
And that gets it done before Thursday. Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We adjourn. I'll hand it over to who's next? Paul.
Okay, so
Planning.
I'll call to order strategic planning. Let the record show that all committee members are present. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous committee meeting, which was held on Tuesday, April 16th. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Alderman Adriano. All in favor? Opposed? Unfinished business. PL 3419 by Alderman Doherty to grant Sunny Olean LLC permission pursuant to Olean City Code of Ordinances Section 27.7 to install an open loop geothermal water well at the premises located at 106 116 West State Street, Olean. Alderman Doherty.
Well, if as everyone remembers from the last meeting, we discussed this at length. We asked Jim Snyder any questions we had for him, and I believe it kind of fell back to the city attorney for any issue.
The DPW director reviewed the due diligence.
There we go. Thank you. Cool. Yep. So it goes back to Bob. Sorry. It's been a while.
I just got a report from Minnie today that I've been working through, but I collected information from our chief operator, at the water plant. He didn't have a lot of comments, so I think the one thing maybe we'd like to reserve is the right to inspect, from time to time, or if something is happening in our water system, to just be able to have some control over, or maintaining it, or just inspecting so that there is, maintenance and things like that. Just reserving the right, I guess. I think other than that, as far as the impact to the aquifer, I think advocate for this, one, open loop system. And, if this becomes popular, maybe it needs to be looked at again.
Paul, I think Bob just touched on it. I think we should, going forward, put some type of policy in place. So if, say, a homeowner or another business wants to do it, we have something that we can go by that are guidelines so everybody plays by the same set of rules.
I agree.
But I think this is kind of one of those topics that should, need council approval type of, it's not a curb cut where everyone's getting one, or?
No, the code, no one's asking that the code be changed right now. You issued the permit for the well under the code, but there's still no wells. It doesn't.
Oh, gotcha.
Change. It doesn't. You guys are the only ones that can make that decision.
Gotcha,
There's
okay.
No system
Right.
set up to authorize DPW or codes
To just give it.
do it, and I don't think anybody has the intention of doing that.
Gotcha,
Because
great. Okay.
These issues
Right.
should be kept at your level.
Right. That's what I was getting at with my, if we were coming up with some sort of policy, it should still contain that aspect.
Sure.
Are there any mechanisms that could be tracked, any sort of metrics that would allow us to see the water, how much is being taken out of the aquifer on one end, and then on how much is being put back on the other end? Jim?
Yeah, in Salamanca, we have a similar issue with the, none of the sprinkler system connections from their water system are metered, right? So we have to provide every 6 months or annually a sprinkler system certification to make sure they're not leaking and using city water. And so I would think it would be a similar thing here, that you'd want to put in place some kind of annual certification or inspection of the system to make sure that, the same amount of water that's coming out of the ground is going back in the ground. There are no leaks. Very similar, and I don't know, is that the way it works in Olean? Are your sprinkler systems all metered?
Meter as far as gallonage usage?
Yeah.
Not that I know.
Yeah, so that you guys require, I'm sure, annual certification of
Yeah,
sprinkler
it's supposed to
systems.
be annually by the code. It's
Right,
supposed to be
right.
annually inspected.
So that's, I would say a similar measure would be needed for any open loop geothermal systems,
Can I ask you a question? In Salamanca, is it inspected by the city of Salamanca or a third party?
They'll do it if you want, but they charge more than the third party.
So you
So
get
we
a third
usually
party.
have Allied do it, or.
Then would it be permissible to add that requirement, that the city is provided an annual certification?
I would think that would be something that you would want.
I just have a quick question, and I'll just need my memory refreshed. So when we talked about digging and we had that wonderful presentation, did we ask you, or is there any unsettling? Those buildings underneath there are pretty old. If we start doing some digging and stuff, will that unsettle foundations or to neighboring structures because they're so close?
Well, we have a setback from the building that kind of protects for that, so we have to put the wells a little ways away from the building, so you're not hitting the footers or anything like that. But they're typically just gonna be 6-inch holes. So 2 6-inch holes in the ground, straight down, and they don't usually have any structural issues with anything around it. I imagine if you hit a footer or something like that, that could be a problem, but we try to, that's why we have the New York State Code has minimum setbacks.
Jim, behind one of the buildings, one of Jeff's buildings, I remember the city, we filled in one of the tunnels that used to run under there. Do you remember which building it was?
Yeah, 112.
Okay. And that's not gonna interfere with.
Well, probably won't drill there. We'll drill at one side of the
106.
property and the other side of the property.
Okay. I was just
Keep
curious.
the withdrawal well 50 or 75 feet away from the injection well, 10 feet setback from any property lines or building foundations. There are a number of communities that have permitting regulations in place, code in place. Many has found that as potentially model legislation for you to adopt at some point in the future. We're just going to comply with with those codes, and then, you know, to Bob's point, we can inspect it anytime, and we'll share our data continuously. Because we want this to be as a demonstration project that you can utilize to, you know, potentially adopt a standard and a code rolling. Because I see this as an important resource that could improve the competitive advantage of the city. Could save your homeowners money and your businesses money.
Maybe save the city some money.
And maybe save the city some money. You sit on top of a huge natural resource that is perpetually renewable, and since we won't extract any water from the aquifer at all, every drop that comes out will go right back in. It won't be consumed.
Okay, anyone else?
Yep, going forward, Nick or Bob, every one of these would need council approval at this point, the way with our current system, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
There's no room for any administrative body within the city to grant the permit for the well except for the council.
And Bob, you're comfortable with this? From a engineering, water table, big picture, little picture point of view?
Yeah.
Anyone else? Alderman Doherty, would you like to make a motion to approve?
I'd like to make it, yeah, I would like to make a motion to approve and refer to committee of the whole or the next council meeting.
Anyone like a second?
Regular meeting?
Regular meeting? I was looking for a head nod or something from John, so,
Yeah, if we approve it here, it goes to the
Yeah.
regular meeting.
okay. Cool.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You got the second being Alderman Witt.
I'm abstaining from this vote.
Certainly did.
Record show one abstention. Okay, new referrals for consideration. Discussion item, mosquito spraying contract.
It's me. As you recalled, during the budget talks, we did not include this money. At the time, it was, I believe, 17.5 we had in the budget. We did not include that, and the comments then was that if we needed to do the spraying, that we would take that out of the adopted budget's contingency. So the contracts are here. I'm just asking for your approval to sign the contract. It came in at $14,563.40. So if they do spray, we'll have to look to take that money out of contingency.
Remind me, Bill, does that decision, who makes that decision whether or not they spray?
County.
The county does.
Yeah, what happens, they will actually have people set traps
Okay.
and monitor the mosquito, and if it gets to a point where it needs to be done, then they will make that decision.
Do you remember what year? It's been a couple years.
It's been at
since-
least 3, I think, that we have not had to,
It's
so.
been a few.
Okay. That's fine.
So it'll be on the agenda next week for me, give me the authority to sign the contract with the company.
Great.
Okay, anything else? Okay, call that discussion item closed. Item B, another discussion item. Extension request for Rural Revitalization Corporation, 306 North 11th Street.
If I may, Paul, been contacted by Rural Revitalization, and I don't know if you knew or not, but they've had I guess you can call it a shakeup down there. Stephanie Tomlin is no longer their executive director. She has moved on. The board has a person temporarily in that position until they reform. They've had some board members, new board members added. But anyways, the point here is that they are asking for a 3 to 6 month extension on North 11th Street, the House 306, and they will not be renovating it. They have gone in and evaluated it again, and they feel it is too much money to renovate it, so they're gonna demolish it. They want to take it down. So they just need a little bit of time to reorganize and get the house down.
Yeah. I followed up and spoke with April Ramadan as well. As far as I'm concerned, and I think Bill's probably on board with it too, as long as they finish what they started, right? And so if it's not going to be a full-blown rehab, then she gave me her word that they would demolish the structure and look to create either a street or neighborhood flower garden or another community garden there. She wants to add value. They want to add value to that community, and they don't want to lose face with the city of Olean either. So she firmly understands the predicament they're in. She assured me they have the finances to do it, but it was kind of a cost-benefit analysis, looking at how much money they've already put into it. It was going to be considerable amount to finalize the project on the rehabilitation. The foundation was a lot worse than they thought. So they're going to take as much out of that property that I think they put like a $10,000 new furnace in it that hadn't been used, so they're going to try to remove those types of things and just contract to demolish it.
So what's our other option? If we don't approve it, it goes back to us. They default on their agreement with us, and it comes back to us, and it's back in our lap as our problem. So why would we? It's not like there's people, screaming for that property anyway. So
and the neighborhood is really sick and tired of it. If you've gone by it, they left it over the winter looking like a war zone. It's a lot worse than it was to begin with. So the neighborhood was thrilled to hear that they were going to just demolish it.
when you say they left it, like,
RRC left it in this half rehabilitated state. The property has half the foundation dug out with tarps draped over it. It looks a lot worse than when it started, and it's now, it sat like that all winter long.
Yeah.
So then spoke with a number of the neighbors, and they're just like, get it down and plant some flowers. It'll go a long way.
I'm on board with granting them an extension if they're going to demolish it, because I don't want, as like you guys know, we don't want it stuck in the city's lap. I just don't like the way they went about it. Steph Timlin had reached out to me, asked me to use my contacts in the construction industry. They were literally 2 weeks away. Their board had tethered her arms behind her back. It's the reason why it sat like that for so long. Then their board put themselves in this position to have to demolish it or whatever. They went through and cut house. I don't like the way they went about it. They were literally 2 weeks away from having it get a C of O, and then they decided to cut their arms off. Now they can't do anything. So I'm going to be on board with granting an extension to demolish it. I just don't like the way they went about it.
Are they going to continue with the garden on Main Street?
Yes. So I spoke to them. I spoke to her also. They're gearing up. I believe it's whenever it's Community Garden Day, May 18th, I think, rings a bell, and they are having the materials delivered to try to clean up that property there on Reed Street and get the community, the neighborhood there geared up for the Community Garden Day.
Okay. Consensus is approved, right? Or grant the extension.
It'll be on the agenda for next week then to approve the extension.
Sounds good.
For your side.
What?
For what amount of time?
What do you want, 3 to 6 months? Or do you want to put a cap to 6 months?
Say 6 months. Anything else? Any other input or comments on that discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will make a motion to approve committee reports. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Andriano. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second there?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Crawford. All in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned.
So I'll call to order the public safety meeting for Tuesday, May 7, 2019. Let the record show all aldermen are present with the exception of Alderman George. I'll make a motion to approve the committee minutes from Tuesday, April 16th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unfinished business. Should I throw the cats under there?
Sure.
So, unfinished business. Linda, you have a guest about the cats?
Yes. We had, actually, I read the article in the paper about the cat nippers contacting us and saying they had an area where they're going to do the trap nudity. And then I was talking to Linda, who brought this, continually brings this issue to us. And we just wanted an update on how that's going, where it's going to be, and who's going to be involved.
I believe I sent out an email to all the aldermen explaining what was going on. We met with the cat nippers. We're currently, I did see I got an email from her. We want to do a press release first on what's going to happen. We're going to do it in Ward 6, or Ward 5, I'm sorry. Ward 5, we just have to pick out a location there, what street. The cat nippers will notify the surrounding area. I have Michiko working on a door tag right now that we'll be able to use. That'll explain our cat. One side will have what our law is on keeping your own cat on your own property, and the other side will be we're going to be trap, neuter, spay program will be running in your neighborhood this date, these dates, so that people with cats can keep them on their own property, so they're not taken. But they will they're going to come in. First time they have in a couple of weeks, she has 20 appointments. They will come do the trapping. They will take the cats to, I can't remember the name of the place they're taking them, but anyways, they'll take them there. They will be neutered, and then they will bring them back and release them back into the community.
Same neighborhood then?
Yeah.
Yeah. The cats who come back that are released will have I guess they do a cut or a clip out of their ear or whatever they call it there. So they'll bring them back to the same age. So if you're a cat owner and your cat is roaming and gets trapped,
You get a free neuter job?
basically, yeah. And they do check them. They'll check the best they can prior to taking them. And even if they get to the vets and the vet, when they shave them, they see they've been had surgery before, then they will bring them back, without neutering them again. I'm not sure if that's.
Well, they should notch the ear then.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if
I'd have to
somebody,
get that question answered, so.
I mean, if somebody's, that's part of the stipulation. If someone's
They
letting
should
their
put
cat
that in Secret
roam
Lives of Pets
out
3.
free, then it's to be perceived that they are a stray animal, and so your cat's ear could very well get clipped if your cat is out and about roaming the area and you've already got it fixed and it's trapped.
They will provide the traps. They will pick up. They'll even go out and notify the neighboring area. They usually go one block each side of the block we choose, and one block north, south, east, west of that. So that so.
Okay.
I just wanted to, because Linda and I were talking, and the property that Nate brought up over on 13th Street, there's a whole herd of cats over there. So I was just wondering if that area could be included, and that's why Linda's here tonight. So it was just a question.
Yeah. Well, we during our discussions, we thought Ward 5 because Johnson first brought this up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and this is 12th Street.
Is that
on the other
your
side.
ward, or?
It's on the line. It splits. 12th Street splits.
Yeah, we
Ward
could
5 and Ward 6.
We could do it there. The other thing.
Fine with me, Bill.
Yeah, the other thing we, I guess the SPCA has been doing some work in Olean with that, because we had a complaint that somebody who was objected to them catching or trapping cats stole the traps, and I just got an email today that they may have found the traps. They're underneath the South Union Street Bridge, so that's being looked at now to see if they're the actual traps and what condition they're in. So
Were there cats in them?
I don't know.
That's what I would do with a full cat trap.
But so we gotta start.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I think it's a great thing.
I will give the alderman a heads up. There are people who don't support the tracking program, and I've already been contacted multiple times by one person who had read the article several weeks ago that there were 289 cats captured in Olean, which was a misprint. It's 289 cats were trapped in Cattaraugus County, not the city last year.
They said,
But
they said Bob screwed that up. So.
They believe their cat had been.
She said.
And recorded. They thought their cat had been catnapped by cat shooters and absconded with. So just brace yourself for that type of call or communication.
Their cat had been, I'm sorry, Nate, what was that?
Catnip.
Catnapped.
Catnapped. Their cat had been captured
Yes.
and hijacked.
And well taken to a vet and
Abducted.
abducted.
What was the cat doing out of their
There's
house?
two sides to the story. I get
Okay.
it, that their cat, the people that have cats, that love their cats and worship cats, don't care about cat ordinances. And they think that their cats have the right to roam anywhere. So I'm just bracing you that there's a healthy contingent of people who don't care if there's a law about keeping your cat on your property, and will contact you and tell you that your cat's been catnapped.
Some people break laws.
Check with your neighbor.
I gotta keep my dog on my property.
Yeah, but usually when they trap, neuter, release, they bring them back to the same neighborhood, so issues are.
Catnapping.
Okay, so are we done with this? Can we move on?
We've moved on. Thank you for that. New referrals for consideration, discussion, Front Street traffic study. I think Linda asked for that.
Yes, actually, Chief Rowley did this study back April 3rd through the 10th, and I was amazed at how much, I mean, I know it's a very busy street, but some of the folks that go over 45 to 50 miles an hour is amazing. But if you could just kind of take us through the numbers, because you obviously did the
Well,
study.
first of all, let's keep in mind that some of those high-speed ones may very well be emergency
Right,
vehicles.
that's that,
We don't know that. The numbers were, for that week, just shy of 70,000 vehicles going down Front Street, which is more than I would have thought it was going to be.
That's
And
the
the other
reason
thing
it's
that I
torn apart.
found was unusual, or I wasn't
Why it's
expecting,
torn apart.
is the majority of what I would consider enforceable speeding violations were committed by vehicles headed in a southerly direction on Front Street. So more of the vehicles coming from 16, cutting across, and then headed out Seneca Way or whatever, were significantly more of the speeding enforceable actions on that versus the other direction, virtually none, percentage-wise. So and one of the nice things about this device, it does gives us some data, times and dates and stuff for us to do some targeted enforcement. Try to, rectify that situation, even if it is temporary. So we'll be, putting some people out at some times based on the figures that we got here to try to curb that a little bit. But the overall percentage of speeding is very low, which, to be honest, I was a little surprised. I thought it would have been a little bit higher than that.
Where was it set up? Where was it set up? I don't have it in front of me right now.
It was set up, I can't remember, right near Paragon.
Between the prospect.
Almost between, that's center between Prospect and Paragon.
Okay.
And so that was it. I mean, overall, not really a speeding issue displayed by this report. And there again, for whatever reason, it seems that significantly more people who are speeding are doing so heading that one direction, which I really can't explain.
I think surprised by is Saturdays had the most traffic. I would have thought during the week because of Eastview, a lot of people.
You thought Saturdays
But
would
no,
have been less.
but think about where he put it. He put it on Paragon, and a lot of people will come Bradner Stadium to Eastview and go back out Seneca because that stop sign's there now. If you try to come out Eastview at school hours, a lot of people try and turn left and it's a nightmare. So a lot of the traffic isn't on Spring, the traffic is on Seneca.
Okay.
And if you looked at where the road's torn up so bad on front, that would account for the fact there's can you make that conclusion that there's 70,000 vehicles traveling Front Street, that particular area, the bottom part of front, and that's why the road's giving way down there more than the other? Can you make that conclusion?
Not what you were saying, Lowe's that keeps hitting the trusses.
It's on the other end, Kevin.
Probably
It's
because
the
the
other
river
end.
so close to the road.
Okay.
I think maybe the river used to be there, and that's why it faces up, but I think the whole road probably has around the same, average traffic. They have those tubes out there that the state does one every 5 years.
Right. But and I think people don't realize that a lot of semis come off of I-86 and go down Front Street
Mhm.
because they got into the habit of going out Seneca to go to Cutco, to go to the car dealers, that end, and going out of town, and they're still doing that. They haven't, gone back the other way. So there's a lot of truck traffic that I think is also breaking up our street. So, but thanks for the study. I was really an eye-opener.
I didn't, I have the numbers for the oversized vehicles too.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Your device can tell that too?
Yes, that's, Bob and I went in together and purchased this under because it assists both of us, right?
Right.
And I provided him with the numbers. I wasn't sure if you were prepared to comment on the numbers, but, because I wasn't sure of the size of these vehicles, but I didn't see a large population of vehicles, if you will, of heavy trucks on that road. We do know that some do, but some are also making some local deliveries right now.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it'll measure everything from axles. It gives you the distance of how long a vehicle is going to be.
Now, is that a ticketable or a writable offense? Is that being not a truck route?
Off the truck route, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's a sign just when you turn from I-86 on the front that says no truck.
And we periodically have people over there targeting for that because we have some residents over there that'll call us.
Okay.
And, if you get one once in a while, but it's not significant.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you. The next discussion is the crossing at Olean General. I knew we had done a traffic study, you had done a traffic study this winter on that, and it was brought to light again this week with a local doctor who was almost hit there by a speeding car. He reached out to me, and I think there was quite a Facebook conglomerate as well, just talking about some ideas of what we could do to make that a safer place to cross. I know people have thrown out all kinds of ideas. What's interesting is it wasn't at night that this almost accident happened. I have noticed that even at night the quick fill sign illuminates enough, although they're only open till 11, but this didn't happen then. I don't know what anyone's thoughts were. There's a sign there and it warns you that the crosswalk's coming. I meant to take pictures when I was over there
Well,
last night.
I certainly don't want to step on Bob's toes here because it's more of an engineering thing, but to the doctor's statement about the speeding, the results of that study showed that there's not a speeding problem over there. And then I had Christine, our secretary, look up the accidents in the since 2015, 8 accidents at the intersection of Genesee and/or Center. All 8 of those accidents were resulting from fail to yield the right of way. Not one of those accidents was resulting from speed. So, from my perspective, I believe that the crosswalks are in a poorly located place. And it's not that people are having accidents because of speed. There you have the one crosswalk where that's the exit from the hospital.
Yeah.
It's immediately right next to a crosswalk, right next to an intersection where people are turning. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, getting people crossing there. It's a really poorly designed location for that crosswalk. The numbers from the study and the numbers from the accidents do not show that the accidents that we've had are a result of speed.
Let me ask you this. You could have increased accidents if people call dispatch. I guess this is my question to you. Because I've had people tell me, we call dispatch and they'll ask, do you need fire assistance, ambulance assistance, or a police officer dispatched? And if they say there's no injuries or whatever, they say pull over, get the insurance and whatever, and somebody's not dispatched to there. But do the dispatchers then log that so you have that data, or these are ones that a police officer really went to?
Well, no, if they call up and, I don't know why they would call, but then say we don't want you to come. I mean, we get called to almost every accident, but there's probably, there's always a small percentage where they would call, but if they want to report done, an officer has to go.
Okay.
If somebody were to have called and then immediately called back and said disregard, yeah, you could have some of that, which I wouldn't know about.
Right.
But on these, they were, motor vehicle accidents, and two or three were pedestrian accidents. So we obviously went.
But didn't you say those were at the intersection of Genesee and Maine?
Genesee in Maine and Center in Maine.
Center in Maine, okay.
There was 1, 2, 3 at Center, and the rest of them were Genesee.
Yeah, the Genesee accidents usually stem from people not stopping for the stop sign. They've done that for years. We did meet with the hospital, Chief Raleigh, Chief Bell, myself, the mayor, and Bob, and we discussed changing crosswalks, but it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to take a study. I also suggested putting the flashing lights there, but we didn't think that was necessary. The disheartening thing is you can't legislate common sense. And you know, when I was driving here, there were people leaving the hospital, walking down the driveway, 10 feet from the crosswalk, in the middle of the street, crossing to go have a cigarette. You know, people just cross where they want to cross, and they're just putting themselves in danger. We can't help that. But it's always been a concern, and I think until we change something with that especially center where the crosswalk is to the hospital, and having the hospital come out, I think Mr. Feynman, we had talked to him about changing the exit and entrance into the hospital. That would alleviate some of the traffic at that intersection, but that's down the road. So we had talked about it.
Is majority of the pedestrian traffic people going to smoke a cigarette?
Oh, that or they go to ambulatory. There's people that work there that come back and forth to go to cafeteria.
But the people that are in these accidents, things like that, are they going to go grab a smoke? I mean,
No.
Okay.
No,
I was just saying, because if that's the issue, it'd be easier to like rope off 3 parking spots
That
and
came up in the meeting.
let them smoke there.
They brought that up.
They can't smoke.
Quickfield gas
State
station.
law,
allows
they
them
can't
to
smoke on
out
hospital
back.
property.
Right.
And quite a few of
So
these
no
people
Sell it to
were
a
walking on there.
another LLC or
Cigarettes,
something.
They can't smoke on hospital ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe Mr. Feynman would consider a walkable bridge
That's-
over the street.
We suggested a few things.
Yes.
That's not bad.
It all comes down to money.
Go up and over.
Or underground tunnel.
Or
Can't smoke in those though.
a transporter.
I mean, there's definitely an issue over there, nobody's disputing that, it's a very busy location within basically a 1-block area that gets a lot of foot traffic and car traffic, but all of the solutions they cost some money.
Right.
And in the light of day, that pedestrian light up's not gonna help. Like you said, it's the,
And I've noticed
Was-
lately, even uptown going through North Union Street at night, people don't even hit the lights anymore, they just cross in front of yours.
Was the doctor on the crosswalk?
yeah, I guess.
He doesn't
I'm
smoke.
sure
right?
when you almost get run
Okay.
over, it seems like the car is going really fast.
Mhm.
In reality, it's probably not.
Okay, well, thank you all for that. We have no referrals for consideration, or approval of committee reports, none. So I'll make a motion. Anybody have anything else before I adjourn? Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Crawford. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.